seeing as the new season of Drive to Survive inevitably means a ton of new fans will be joining the sport, I thought I'd do a bit of a guide for those of you wondering what the changes are concerning the 2021 season. From the drivers to teams and races, we will cover all you need to know to get up to speed on this upcoming season. And if you're already an F1 veteran, this might be an informative video for you as well. First off, we have the teams, and although underneath the structures remain pretty much the same, there are a fair few changes to the look and feel of a few of the cars that we will cover, well, right now. In championship order, we have McLaren, who on the surface look the same but are now powered by a Mercedes power unit. In case you didn't know, since 2018 and up until last season, they have been powered by Renault, a partnership that led to 3 podiums over those 3 years and a nice aid on the steady climb up the order for good measure. From being 9th in 2017, the Renault-powered McLaren climbed up to 3rd position in the standings last year. Next up, Racing Point have changed their look and name, and have now become Aston Martin. Although the drivers have changed, well, one of them, the core staff remains the same and they are expected to carry on from last year's strong form. The change was brought about by a majority stake buyout of the Aston Martin company from Racing Point chairman Lawrence Stroll, who sought to bring back the iconic brand to the sport. Now, instead of pink, look for the deep green cars, although they have a bit of pink for good measure. Talking about a changing name, we also have Renault, but if you look for the yellow cars in Bahrain, you will be sorely disappointed, seeing as there is no trace of the colorful machines, as they now go by Alpine and have the most stunning look of them all. Yes, I know, it's one of many blue cars this season, but seeing as it's the best looking one, I'm willing to bet it's the one you won't hear complaints about. Looking further down the grid, you might have been familiar with the white, red and grey colors of the Haas team, the newest team on the grid. But since they took a new title sponsor in Uralkali, they now adorn the colors of the United States flag, although on a slightly different format. The overall grid looks very familiar when compared to last year, with only a few rookies, but overall the colors the drivers will be wearing probably won't be the ones you're used to. Due to poor performance, Red Bull have chosen to leave Albon watching from the pits, while ex-Racing Point driver Perez has now taken over the second seat. McLaren have said farewell to Sainz and took in Ricciardo, who has left Renault after the intended long-term plan ended up being just a bit over short-term plan, with 2 seasons contested for the French team. Looking down, we have Aston Martin, who decided to leave out Perez at the last second when the chance to get 4-time world champion Vettel came arise. He joins the team after a long yet ultimately unsuccessful stint at Ferrari, who decided not to renew the German's contract early last year. Just a bit further down, we have Alpine, previously Renault, who traded experience for extreme experience after 8-time race winner Ricciardo decided to jump ship to their rivals. They take him for the, well, 3rd time now, the 3rd most experienced driver of all time in 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso. Ferrari are next, and after not renewing Vettel's contract, they opted to get the best of the rest finisher for 2019 in Carlos Sainz, the 2nd Spaniard to drive for the Scuderia in recent years. He and his teammate Leclerc now make for the youngest lineup in Ferrari's history. AlphaTauri have left Kvyat go after one of the Red Bull juniors became available to fill the seat. Rookie Yuki Tsunoda now takes up the seat after impressing with 3rd position on his rookie F2 season last year. The Japanese driver is one promising driver. Now lastly, Haas have let both drivers go and took in a set of rookies consisting of 2020 F2 champion Mick Schumacher, yes, that's Michael's son, and Mazepin. They are hoping for radical change to have a radical effect on the team, and thinking about a long-term plan to get back to fighting for the, well, top of the midfield. This might be the first step of a change in ownership in favor of a more Eastern look, as already seen by their new livery. Last year's calendar ended up looking quite different from any previous one due to the volatile and unexpected nature of the events that have transpired. But if we looked at the proposed 2020 calendar, we can see quite a few new additions and changes. The historically season opener Australian Grand Prix has now been pushed to the beginning of the summer in November, and the Bahrain Grand Prix has now regained their season opener status that they didn't have since 2010, which after this weekend will mean that in the span of 4 race weekends, 3 of them would have been in Bahrain. Vietnam has been dropped pretty much for good, and China has been suspended for the 2nd year in a row. Imola and Portimao are polar opposite when it comes to F1 history and pure racing quality, but they are both carryovers from the 2020 calendar, both good to see back for 2021. We finally see the debut of Zandvoort and the awaited return of the Asian and American legs with the Singapore, Japanese, United States, Mexican and Brazilian Grand Prix. Oh, and also we get the new addition of the knife, missile-prone human rights violation, or Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, however you wish to call it. There has also been a tweak in the regulations, but I won't get into it seeing as this isn't a technical video, more so a bit of a basic introduction to F1 video which I hope you enjoyed. If you loved it and enjoy my content, maybe consider subscribing to my Patreon, but if not, with just liking and subscribing should be enough. Talking about patrons, a big fat wet kiss on the cheek goes out to Jeb for becoming my first patron, and as always, I will see you all next week.